Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I've learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And I'm going to do something a little bit different on here today. I used to have a series on Fridays called Dear Peter, where people would write into me and they would ask me for like advice or suggestions based on personal experience in my life. This is similar to that, but a little bit different, and I'm going to explain that in just a second. I'm also going to read a meditation. I want to kind of start off this video today with a meditation because I think it'll kind of set the mood. It was interesting when I went to read the meditation because my husband is upstairs right now, and I said, what's today's date? And he shouted it down to me, and I looked it up in Linda Picone's book, and it was so funny. I was like, this meditation is perfect for today's video and what I'm going to talk about. And, you know, for me, I'm very much a believer that the universe and my higher power speak to me and give me those things that I need in those moments. Not necessarily always the things I want, but typically the things that I need. So, today's video is at the request of a very good friend of mine, and I was not even aware that she watched any of my videos, let alone this channel, and apparently she watches all of these videos. She like posted it on Facebook and was, anyway, so she loves this channel, and so she texted me the other day and she was like, hey, she gave me several suggestions for videos. So this one goes out to you. This is a friend of mine that I've never talked about in my videos and things like that. And at some point I might bring her in, but right now I think, you know, she just wants to kind of stay anonymous and things like that, which is totally cool. So, but she gave me a great idea for the video, and it was a topic that I've never talked on here about before. And what she said was, she goes, you know, I'm kind of struggling right now with like isolating in my life, and I've just been going through this stuff, and I don't, you know, like, there are days I don't even want to leave the house, and have you ever, and she was asking me, she's like, have you ever gone through that before? And I'm like, oh yeah, you know, like, especially, and she's not in recovery, but especially as people in recovery, we sometimes isolate a lot. I also think it's a really interesting, you know, discussion to have in regards to either working from home or people that do YouTube videos or whatever, because I think the misconception would be, you know, you see us on, you know, your television or your computer or your phone or whatever, and that we're just constantly out doing things and being social and whatever, you know, and you see people's social media, it's like they're constantly active doing this and doing that. I would say the majority of the YouTubers that I talk to, and you know, I would say easily 90%, literally spend their entire lives with one or two other people, or spend the majority of their time alone, at home. Like, they don't go places, right? And so I think it's kind of this, you know, interesting perception that we have of what YouTubers look like and what their lives look like just based on what we see out there, you know? I think similar to that, if you take it off of YouTube, we might think that same way about our coworkers or our friends or our family, because isolation is something that we don't often talk about. And isolation also has, you know, a kindred sister of loneliness. And I think that often if we're isolating, or if we've been isolating, it's because we feel lonely, or we feel lonely because we've been isolating. They kind of go back to and forth, if that makes sense. I have gone through many, many periods in my life where I have isolated, and you know, my good friend Tanya that I talk about on my videos all the time, she'll say to me, like, I haven't heard from you in 2 days. You haven't called, like, what's going on? Or, like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm totally fine. I just got up and went and got my coffee and, you know, read a little bit and talked to, you know, some people on the phone. And then I came back and I made some videos and things like that. You know, it's just, it's not that deep. But what I find out is that through some time, I kind of am isolating. There was a period of my life, and I would say it was, you know, between my first and second boyfriend, that I really didn't like spending much time alone. In fact, you know, I would come home after work and I would go work out, and then I always had to have things to do in the evening. I just never liked being by myself. I just wasn't very good alone. You know, I don't know if there are people out there that relate to this. I just wasn't comfortable enough by myself just to, you know, I'm very like, all the time anyway. But, you know, it wasn't even that. It was that I just couldn't sit with my own company long enough. Well, what happened was it forced me to get used to being by myself. And one of the things that I always suggest whenever going through a breakup or any major change in your life is to take some time, like 6 months to a year, to really get to know yourself, because you deserve that time to find out who you are and to get to know yourself all over again, you know? I don't think necessarily that isolation is a horrible thing. I think that isolation for long periods of time is a horrible thing. You know, it's like fasting. I'm a believer in like physical and spiritual fasting. I really am. But, always with doctor approval. I will say that. You always must, be approved by a doctor to do that. But long periods of fasting is not healthy, right? It's the same thing. It's like, if you want to say, okay, I'm going to take Friday to Sunday and I'm not going to get on social media and I'm not going to talk to anybody on the phone and I'm just going to focus on writing a book or working out or doing some meditation or taking this weekend to myself or whatever, I think that's completely fine. Or if you're going to do like an evening, by yourself or whatever. The problem becomes when it starts becoming a pattern in our lives, that isolating, which is being alone, becomes a pattern in our lives. That we're alone more than we're with other people. Because what happens, I think, and what's happened to me in the past, and I can only speak from personal experience, is that this fear creeps in, right? Because then I'm more comfortable being in the confines of my own home, in my bedroom, not wanting to leave, than anything else. Some things that have really worked for me through time is, forcing myself to get up and get dressed, take a shower, go out, find things to do. I talk a lot about this in making lists, that, typically when I make a list for my day, I always do things on there like, go get coffee, run this errand, because it forces me to get going and get out and do things. The days that I have a lot to do, I get a lot more accomplished. Because if I have, a meeting with this person and I have to go meet with this person and I have a 12-step meeting in the evening, or I have a dinner date with my husband or whatever, I have all these things, I have to fit this, and this, and this, and this in there. So it forces me to go out and be more active. When I don't have anything going on, when I have, no work to do, and I have, no creative ventures going on, and nobody that I'm really talking to for that day, and nobody that I'm meeting up with or anything like that, and nothing to do in the evening, I typically get less done on those days, and I isolate more. Those are days that, for me, it's very, very easy to just hang out in bed all day long. And I don't think that that's horrible. Like, I don't think it's bad to just take a day and be in bed. I think it becomes dangerous when it's day after day after day. And I've gone through long periods of my life where I really struggled with that, and that's when I would reach out to my sponsor or my support network or my friends or whatever, and say like, I just am like I just went through something like this not too long ago, where I just was lacking a lot of motivation. I just didn't, I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel anything. I just was lacking motivation. And, I noticed that I started getting up and I started doing things, and that really, really helped me. It helped me kind of like get up and whatever, And I think that just forcing ourselves to go do some things, to put our foot outside the door, to make plans with other people. My mother was somebody that isolated a lot. She would go to a lot of 12-step meetings, but she wouldn't reach out to many people to make plans. And I'd say, she'd say, I just don't have anything to do this weekend. I'm so lonely. I don't know what to do. And I'd say, well, what do you mean you don't have anything to do this weekend? And she'd say, well, I just, like this person's doing this and you've got these plans and you're doing that and whatever. Yes, she was a great guilt tripper, but it didn't work real well on me. And, I would say, okay, well, I'll stop by, for an hour on Sunday or whatever. But she'd say, I know, but I just, I don't want to interrupt what you're doing, but I just wish I had more things to do. And I'd say, well, why don't you reach out to somebody and ask them to go out to dinner? Or why don't you, ask somebody to go, oh, I don't want to bother somebody. She would always say that. She didn't want to bother people, right? And then she said to me, one day she was like, I have asked a lot of these people and they just say no. And I said, well, then go find some new people. Like, at certain points in our lives, we have to find some new people to do things with. I don't think there's anything wrong with being comfortable in your own home, okay? I don't think there's anything wrong with, taking a nap in the afternoon or being happier with your animals and your dogs and cats at home than you are being out with people. I don't love being around tons of people. It makes me very, very uncomfortable. My social anxiety comes out all over the place, and it's something that I've been working on for the last couple of years, but still it comes out. I have to kind of work myself up for that. But I do know that once I get myself out, and once I go out to the lunches with my friends, and once I go out to the dinners with, other couples and my husband, and we go to a concert like we did this weekend. It's funny because this last weekend we had a lot of things going on, and it was like by Sunday, I was like by Sunday afternoon, I didn't want to do anything. You know what I mean? I was like, I need to take a break. And so I think that, it's okay to do that, but you also have to be making sure that it's not a pattern. And that's where you take a shower, you put on your clothes, you go and, the other day I talked about this in my vlog, I went to one of my favorite restaurants and I ate by myself because I just was hungry for a grilled cheese and some corn chowder soup, which they didn't have, but they had, it was curried Oh, no. Thai ginger carrot vegetarian soup. It was so delicious. And I had so much fun just sitting there by myself, you know? And I think, like, people would perceive that as isolation, but I was out. I was in the world. I was talking to people, you know, even if it was just a waitress and she was telling me about her day. And then that jump starts us getting out there and talking to other people, you know? And there are a lot of people out there, whenever I talk about friendships on here, that say, I don't have any friends. I don't have anybody that I talk to throughout the entire day other than coworkers. It always makes me sad whenever I hear that. I think that everybody deserves to have one good friend, you know? But we also have to put ourselves out there, and we have to try. We have to put ourselves out there to try and make relationships happen. And listen, we can all be better friends. You know, I have people that reach out to me all the time that want to do stuff, and that's where my isolation kicks in, see? Because sometimes I'll say, oh, thanks a lot, but I think I'm just going to stay at home tonight because I feel very, very comfortable in my home. And that's okay as long as it doesn't become a pattern. When it becomes a pattern, then it starts affecting other areas of my life. It affects my relationships with the people. It affects my overall happiness. And I don't want that to happen, you know? And I feel very blessed today that I have some kind of sense of balance with all of that. So anyway, you know, it's constantly, you know, a work in progress. I think all of us are. And but if you find yourself isolating too much, and I think a good test is if you are nervous to go out or you get scared to go out. You know, and I'm not talking about on some kind of psychiatric level. Like, if that's the case, please go find professional help and talk to somebody. I'm saying if you're just sitting at home and you're like, I really don't want to leave today, and then the next day you get home and you put on your pajamas and your, you know, sweatshirt, and you're like, I don't want to leave today either. And the next day you get up and you're like, yeah, I don't want to go out. It's like 2 or 3 days you're not going to the grocery store and whatever. It's time to kickstart this in action and do something. I was going to actually start with the meditation, but I think I'm going to end with it instead. And the meditation is from February 18th, today, the Book of Positive Quotations, and it's called Awakening. There is only one time when it is essential to awaken. That time is now, Buddha. Even with our eyes open, we sometimes go through our days as if we're sleepwalking. These are the only days we have. We need to be aware of them. I will be awake, really awake today. And I think it's such a valuable meditation because I think, you know, I say on here all the time, life is not a dress rehearsal. This is it. This is all you get. It's one life. You know, there are times that, yes, I'm very happy to sit at home and have candles lit and watch a TV show and all that kind of stuff by myself and just spend some alone time, because I do think it is very healthy to spend alone time with ourselves. There are other times that I know in my head, you need to go and get out of this house. And I think most of us know that too. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.